Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Nanda Livia. So today I'm going to present my final presentation about this subject, which is research methodology, with the title Leveraging the Multilateral Relations between the ROK and Southeast Asia region through Korea's New Southern Policy 2017 until 2020. Next, I'm going to explain about the background first. As we know that every country wants their economy to keep progressing and developing. When a nation has an advanced economy, their citizens are able to be prosper. Because of that, every country wants their citizens to be prosper. The ROK and Southeast Asia countries united by breaking away from big countries such as the US and China in the hope of making a large economy region like the US and China, but not by making a new region to compete with them. As we know also, Southeast Asia region is an emerging market with a combined population greater than a European Union and a gross domestic product of around 3 trillion US dollars in 2018, and also ASEAN is fifth largest economy in the world and will continue to grow. The emergence of national interests from both countries has resulted Korea wants to work together through cooperation with countries in the Southeast Asia region in order to develop its economic sector. Like in national interest concept, where this concept is one of the old concepts which exists as the foundation of foreign policy. National interest is not just about theory or abstract concepts since it plays an important role in the real process of conducting foreign policy. It can be a basis for policymakers to implement a particular foreign policy. Uh, Based in concept, we can see that uh, because of the Moon Jae-in government continue to expand its reach to Southeast Asia region and India as well through its New Southern Policy. The Korean government's New Southern Policy aims to cultivate its relation with ASEAN and India as a key partner in the southern region, raise this partnership to the level Korea's traditional four major diplomatic partners, the US, China, Japan, and Russia, to develop values that can be empathized with others and build a mutually prosperous, people-centered community. The New Southern Policy aims to form a multilateral economic. My research question is, how does New Southern Policy impact towards Southeast Asia region in the economic sector 2017 until 2020? And my IV, Korea's New Southern Policy 2017 until 2020. My DV, multilateral relations between ROK and Southeast Asia region in the economic sector. And the importance of this case is, the first is to know New Southern Policy provide benefit and open market for both countries. The second is to support ROK and Southeast Asia relation. So now this is my RRL for IV, which is Korea's New Southern Policy. From this journal that I have read before, I see that the author agree with the vision of Korea's New Southern Policy itself, that a strategic foreign policy that pursue the nation practical interests along with its traditional four major diplomatic partners such as US, China, Japan, Russia, and New Southern regions based on a more balanced form of diplomacy. So therefore, Korea's New Southern Policy does not merely aim to replace the US and China with New Southern regions, but rather to expand its scope of cooperation while maintaining relations with the US and China. As Asian member, as key partner in the New Southern Policy, have diplomatic relations not only with South Korea but also with North Korea. The important thing is the New Southern Policy emphasizes peace, mutual benefits, and people-to-people exchange. So it proposed three pillars such as peace, prosperity, and people. So therefore, if ASEAN could communicate and maintain peace also to North Korea from a neutral perspective the various effects, we can expect with a peace regime established on the Korean Peninsula and work to relieve the pressure applied on North Korea from international powers. This would accelerate the process of denuclearization and the establishment of a peace regime on the Korean Peninsula.
Once a peace regime has been established on the Korean Peninsula, it can serve as a bridge that connects the economic achievement of the southern region to the northern region and provide the new opportunities for prosperity in Asia. Not to mention for Korea as well, the Korean Peninsula serves as a path for northern region to supply energy and power to southern region. Not only that, but also serve as a channel for the southern region again to export produce goods to the northern region. So, the Korea's new southern policy itself has related to the national interest concept, where both countries has interest between each other, and it can be seen where Korea's government making a foreign policy toward Southeast Asia countries, which is through Korea new southern policy. From this journal, I got that the NSP has been primarily driven by a strong economic imperative rather than a strategic thrust. ASEAN ROK economic engagement has been robust, underpinned by the ROK's need to reduce its overdependence on American and Chinese markets, and the growing attraction of ASEAN economies. Meanwhile, the NSP's peace pillars does not evince such a synergy of push and pull factors. So therefore, this author also agreed that the prosperity pillar has been moderately successful in meeting both the ROK's and ASEAN's interests. However, concerning the peace pillar, which encompasses diplomatic engagement and defense cooperation among other, the ROK's overriding interest to expand its defense export and secure international support for its Korean Peninsula peace agenda have overshot ASEAN's inherent strategic importance. ASEAN's main institutional communities were closely examined in terms of their coverage, efficiency, and practice considering ASEAN's relation with South Korea as a dialogue partner. The main motivation is based on having economic interests oriented and mutually respecting and appreciating socio-cultural relation according to regions characteristics and in line with the issue area. South Korea shapes their foreign policy agenda and pattern. Next is RRL for IV and DV. Since its announcement in 2017, NSP has produced several intermediate outcomes largely in the form of expanded diplomatic engagement. Specifically, the Korean government created an ASEAN and Southeast Asian Affairs Bureau within its Ministry of Foreign Affairs. At the same level as the ASEAN economies have become increasingly attractive both as a market for export and hub for manufacturing investment. For example, Samsung southward relocation of its mobile phone production. The company shuttered its last mobile phone factory in China in September 2019 due to rising labor costs and the dramatic shrinking of its market share in China from 15% in 2013 to only 1% in 2019. The ROK's economy pivot towards Southeast Asia is also driven by ASEAN alluring consumption market of over 950 million people. The extensive architecture of bilateral and multilateral free trade agreement that help sustain steady FDI inflow into the region, and ASEAN's role as a keynote in the global supply chains of many Korean conglomerates. Figures do indicate an uptick in bilateral economic engagement since the NSP was launched between 2016 and 2018. ASEAN ROK trade grew by 30%, which is from 124.4 billion US dollars to 161.5 billion US dollars. Between 2015 and 2018, the ROK's investment in Asia also grew by 17%, which is to 6.6 billion US dollars. And also there's a lot of improvement by new southern policy towards Southeast Asia region. So therefore, this makes ASEAN the largest source of overseas construction revenue for Korean business. Such optimistic figure provide a solid basis for both sides to deepen their economic engagement.
So next is conceptual diagram. From the ROK side, it has a national interest towards Southeast Asia countries, which is to realize domestic concern from ROK itself in the form of breaking away from big countries such as the US and China by making Southeast Asia countries as a target that ROK applies for making policy through the Korea New Southern Policy goals. And based on national interest concept, this concept plays an important role in the real process of conducting foreign policy. It can be a basis for policymakers to implement a particular foreign policy. So next is conceptualization and operationalization of IV. In here, national interest theory. For the conceptual definition is national interest is one of the old concepts which exists as the foundation of foreign policy. According to George Washington to Hans Morgenthau, national interest has always been the measure of discussion in a state and foreign policy. So for the operational, the first is the implementation of the new Southern policy vision, which can be summarized as a strategic foreign policy based on a more balanced form of diplomacy that pursues nation practical interests alongside its traditional foreign major diplomatic partners such as US, China, Japan, and Russia. The second is Southeast Asia has long been a significant geography for South Korea in terms of economic ties due to the region's large population and positive understanding of South Korea among region's nations. So therefore, increasing economic interdependence and cooperation can be said to be the most enticing aspect of Korea and ASEAN relations.
Next, conceptualization and operationalization of DV and MyDV is multilateral relation between ROK and Southeast Asia region in the economic sector. Conceptual definition of multilateral relations. Multilateral relations is a process of organizing relations between groups or three or more states were generally considered to comprise certain qualitative elements or principles that shape the character of the arrangement or institution. For the operational definition of multilateral relations, first, create a multilateral economic and diplomatic structure in order to respond to the U.S. focus on domestic issue. The second is Korea value itself is expanding trade, investment, and tourism cooperation with Southeast Asia and India.
Next is relationship between IV and DV. So the relationship between national interest and neoclassical realism is like I already said before in conceptual diagram. So uh, of course, there are relations between national interest and foreign policy, where a foreign policy it could be occur if each country itself has a national interest. So, if we talk about foreign policy, I think the neoclassical realism is the best framework toward this issue or this topic. And here, the policy that have been taken from the ROK is it can be seen through the existence of Korea's New Southern Policy.
Next is scope and limitation of study. The first is to analyze the impact of Korea's New Southern Policy toward Southeast Asia region in the economic sector from 2017 until 2020. The reason why I put the limitation of this research because the first is in the year of 2017 this policy began and still running until now. And the second reason is because in 2017 until 2020, there are a lot of improvement, especially in economic sector between both countries.
Next is research methodology. So in here, I choose qualitative method. qualitative method is defined as research that address business objective through techniques that allow researchers to provide detailed interpretations of market phenomena without depending on numerical measurements. The focus is on finding true inner meaning and new insight. The reason why I choose this method is because the topic that I want to research, I need methods such as finding ideas using exploratory research observations, which in this way is one of qualitative methods. Uh, and also, in this topic, cannot use the methods, hypothesis, test, or specific research questions such as those in quantitative methods. The tools that I want to do through these qualitative methods are making observations on topics that I want to discuss, such as reading journals, book, official website, and so on and so forth. I think that's all. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and good day, everyone.